Okay, we're now looking at the, it's on page 7 and paragraph 10, we're really entering now the realm of Midrash, of Agadah. Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer is actually from the Geonic period. It's attributed to Rabbi Eliezer the Great, who lived in the 2nd century. But this is like sort of like
a ghostwriter.
What?
No, I just never think silly.
No, and this is apocrypha, something that we just attributed to someone else in order to grant it a halo of authority. We know it for different reasons. First of all, in Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, in one place, there's a reference to Islam, to Muhammad and his wives.
In this particular
in the particular work, not in this.
In this work,
teachings of Rabbi Eliezer, and also the language. The language of Midrash moves from the classic Hebrew to classic Aramaic, then to pseudo-Hebrew and pseudo-Aramaic. When I say pseudo, I mean that people try to write in the style of the classical biblical Hebrew, but they don't really fully succeed in it. And the same with the Aramaic. So we could date the Midrash by the language. So I'm going to read the Hebrew here, and this Midrash speaks about a very problematic time in our history, and that's where Yaakov goes to wrestle the blessing from Esau, which many people, I think in the Jewish world is split on that. Some people are on Jacob's side, some people are on Esau's side, or if not on Esau, it is on Yitzhak's side. So it's not fair to Yitzhak. So let's see what happens here. And I wrote it in that format to see that it's somewhat poetic. הגיע ליל יום טוב הפסח, וקרא יצחק לעשו בנו הגדול ואמר, בני, הלילה הזה העליונים אומרים שירה. הלילה הזה אוצרות תללים נפתחים. היום הזה ברכת תללים. עשה לי מטעמים עד שאני חי אברכך. אמרה רבקה אל יעקב, בני, הלילה הזה אוצרות תללים נפתחים. הלילה הזה העליונים אומרים שירה. עשה מטעמים לאביך ויאכל, עד שהוא בעודו חי יברכך. והוא, שהוא בקיא בתורה, פחד ליבו על קללת אביו. 3 dots. וכי 2 גדי עזים היה מאכלו של יצחק, אלא להקריב אחד קורבן פסחים, ואחד עשה מטעמים. Okay, that's the Hebrew. Do you feel the rhythm, right? Poetic. Lily, you want to read the English?
Sure. The eve of Pesach arrived, and Isaac summoned his older son Esau and said, My son, tonight the upper worlds are singing. Tonight the troves of dew are opening. Today is the blessing of dew. Make delicacies for me so I could bless you while I am still alive. Rebekah told Jacob, My son, tonight the troves of dew are opening. Tonight the upper worlds are singing. Make delicacies for your father so he could bless you while he is still alive. And he, as a scholar of Torah, feared the curse of his father. And would Isaac eat 2 kids? No, one was for Pesach sacrifice, and one was for the meal.
Okay. So what is your feeling when you read the text? What is interesting, intriguing,
what I like
troublesome?
A few years back, I had noticed that the 2 kids, and I had suggested that he was making a sacrifice. This is the first time I've seen.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because you don't get 2 kids for one meal.
Right. Shnei gedaim. Right. That's a lot of food.
So
unless he was planning to eat with Esav. We don't know. Okay.
Troubling, of course, is the reference to Pesach altogether, which would happen way after.
Right.
Okay. They have references.
Very, very lot of poetic license.
There's Midrashic, I think it's Midrashic, probably references to Abraham celebrating Pesach.
Right.
Also.
Right, because they give them matzot, or sort of, right?
Well,
Which is part of the same problem, right? What do they have to do with Pesach?
Well, what's interesting about Abraham is Abraham did sojourn in Egypt. It did leave. Abraham, that story is almost
Right.
being version like the Exodus.
Yes, it is. Right, Nahmanidi says that it's a reflection of the Exodus. Right. Another problem is, so what else? Tell me.
It's interesting that Jacob is described as a scholar of Torah. Like,
Is it another anachronism? Like, they're celebrating Pesach,
yeah.
but isn't,
Revelation would have already happened.
right. Jacob is described consistently in the Midrash as a scholar. And that's because the Pasuk says, Ishtam, Yoshevu Alim, is a like simpleton or wholesome man who sits in the tent. So,
The yeshiva book.
Yeshiva Bocher, right? But in reality, when the Torah says Yoshevu Alim, it means a nomad, a shepherd, right? And I, on a different note, when I teach Tanakh, I tell people that I think that not only Jacob and Esau were twins, they were probably identical twins, or if not identical, because one was hairy, one was not. They had the same build. Otherwise, all the clothes, all the garments in the world would not be able to hide Yaakov, to disguise him. Also, when he confronts the shepherds, he lifts the rock. It doesn't seem like he's a weakling or anything like that. He was a. But in any case, you're right. Scholar of Torah is one, and Pesach. So why is this anachronism? It's part of an agenda in the Midrash. In one place, the rabbis say, Avraham zaken v'yoshev b'yeshiva, Yitzhak zaken v'yoshev b'yeshiva. Yaakov, despite all the description of the avot, of the forefathers, as nomads, shepherds, people who are working most of the day, they are described in rabbinic literature as elderly men who sit in a yeshiva and they have students. In order to rationalize their own status. So the rabbis, when talking to the rabbis of the Mishnah, sort of detached themselves from the people. The people were working people, and the rabbis created now this new class of the learning people, and they had to justify it. So they say, you see, this is a tradition that goes all the way from the forefathers. Some of you mentioned before, in passing, I know you know the story of the oven that they right. So there were other disputes among the rabbis. One of the famous disputes were between Rabbi Yoshua and Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel insulted him publicly, and then the community excommunicated Rabban Gamliel, and then Rabban Gamliel went to visit Rabbi Yoshua to offer an apology. And Rabban Gamliel enters Rabbi Yeshua's house, and he sees that the walls are covered with soot. They're all black. And he says, "Oh, mikotlei betcha nikar shepehamiat." I could tell that you're a call maker, right? Is this your profession? Like he's trying to strike a conversation. And Rabbi Yeshua answers, "Oy lador she'ata manigo." Woe to the generation that you are the leader. In other words, you don't know what I'm doing. The walls were black because he was using very cheap oil. That creates a lot of smoke and it darkens the walls. And he was telling Rabbi, you don't know in which conditions I live. So I'm looking at that and I say, it could be that there was a class of scholars that became sort of detached from reality and living in sort of ivory towers. And the people said, why are you not more involved with us? And they said, look, Avraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, that's how they lived. It's a possibility. But here's another anachronism is, today is the blessing of dew. Hayom hazeh birkat tlalim. This is something that in the time of the classic midrashic works didn't exist. To say birkat atal on Pesach, the Talmud says that the Talmudic text said you ask for rain until Pesach, and on Pesach you stop. But to mention the dew came later, in the 7th, 8th century, around that time. So this is another method of dating this midrash as a later midrash. And finally, the interesting interpretation, like you mentioned, Eric, the two goats, the two kids. One is a korban and one is for food. But all this, it doesn't happen during the night. It happens in the day, in the Torah, right? They're talking about like the evening, like Leila Seder. And if it's Leila Seder, if it's really Pesach night, why are they not sitting together? Even if the, let's say, the women were relegated to somewhere else, Esav should be sitting with Yitzhak and Yaakov. So the cynics will say, "Oh, you see, like the woman who goes to her father's house." No, but this, we should really see them all together. So obviously, this is not. We have here several elements of Midrash. One is like when we mentioned the anachronism or the projection of today's practices and norms over on the biblical period, which is very common. And the other thing is elevating this whole story to a much higher level. It's not just something that happens in this world. It's not just Jacob and Esau struggling over priorities, over blessing. In reality, it's something that's going to impact the upper realms. That's why they talk about, the heavens is opening, and so on. Okay, we'll go into the next one.
I'd say that almost gives it a little bit of a Kabbalistic way. These concepts of upper worlds.
Yes, right, and that really comes. It's a good point. It comes from the time where the early Kabbalistic works started developing. That's what we called Sefrut Echalot, the literature of the palaces, of the chariots, right? And I have a piece from Sefrut Echalot that we will look at, and I couldn't find in Echalot something that is related to Pesach.
No, you're right. It's palaces. Merkava's chariot.
Yes, but they call the Sefrut Echalot, and Sefrut Merkava is part of it. They call it Yordei Merkava, and then I'll talk about it in a second. First let's look at the Piyut. Another major genre of literature in post-Talmudic times is that of the Piyut, the liturgy. So we are not talking about the Golden Age in Spain. There was a completely different class of poetry that was influenced by Arabic poetry. This was, in many cases, was functional poetry, meaning it had a purpose of teaching the parasha. It had to be recited in the synagogue. The cantors would write it. They would write it and deliver it, and it became at a certain point and sort of in a competition of who could write more elaborate poetry and show his mastery in weaving together rabbinical and biblical concept. So here we have, you see the artistic element of this short piece of the poem is, it goes in alphabetical order, see? Az bepesach ge'alta, dorshei hod kevodecha, hoshata v'itzalta, zera nam asi ugot. So see, Aleph et Gimel Dalet Hey, Hey Vav Zayin. And it continues in later verses. What is it? It was, of course, a piyut for Pesach. So, let's see what is the translation. Then, back then, on Pesach, you have redeemed those who seek the glory of your providence. Which is nice how you need so many words in English to translate the Dorshei Hod Kevodecha. It's a construct of a construct. The Dorshei are those who seek. Hod Kevodecha, the glory of your providence. Hoshata v'itzalta, you have saved and redeemed. Zera nam asiru God. And here is the artistry of the poet, where he refers to Avraham not as Avraham, but rather of the one who said, "Make flat bread." So here, Eric, also the connection of Pesach and Avraham. So what is it? What do we have here? It says, you have saved the descendants of the person who said to his wife, "Make ugot." What's the connection? It doesn't say matzot. It says lushi v'asi ugot. But in Exodus, when they leave Egypt, the Torah says ugot matzot kilo hametz. They baked the bread that they took out of Egypt into ugot matzot.
At least in modern.
In modern Hebrew, right? In modern Hebrew, uga is cake. In ancient Hebrew, in biblical Hebrew, how could it be ugot matzot? Either it's cake or bread, right? Or matzah.
Well, or
Okay,
it's a
okay.
construct,
I
right?
was just like, I can think of it as like a dollop or something.
Okay,
I mean, go matzot, couldn't that be a construct itself? Or no?
could be. I'll just do that where it says this in Exodus 12:39. Ugot matzot kilo hametz. They JP has translated. They baked unleavened cakes of the dough that they had taken out of Egypt. But in the meaning of the word uga in ancient Hebrew is a round piece of bread. Like agol. You know the famous children's song, Uga, Uga, Uga? No, it's an Israeli song. It means go around. Uga means go around. So Uga is around because that was the easiest way to make bread. If you take dough and it will become round. But now the poet alludes to the connection that, according to the Midrash, the man or the angels came to visit Abraham on Pesach, and he served them matzah. So, in the merit of Abraham, who served matzah to his visitors, God redeemed the Israelites from Egypt. So, we managed to bring in the Midrash to create the historical connections, to say that there's measure for measure. For a good deed, you get reward. All these things in very, very concise language. But, of course, with the course of time, the meaning was lost on the listeners, because it was too much to digest, especially if you look at the second word in the fourth line, nam asi ugot. What is the word nam? It's okay. It's widely used in that liturgy, the Eretz Israel liturgy of the time of the Geonim. It means spoke.
Yeah, like na'um.
Right.
Related to that.
It is. In this case, if you just write nam in Hebrew, it means to sleep. But in this context, it's like na'am, but the aleph has disappeared. Okay, we have a couple minutes to touch upon hechalot. Hechalot, which is also referred to as merkava, is literature, the earliest Kabbalistic literature that we have, mystical literature. It's called Yordei Merkava, those who go down to the throne. And I didn't see among scholars a good enough, I think, explanation of why it's called Yordei Echalot. Sorry, Yordei Merkava, those who go down, should have been those who go up. It's called, my interpretation of the word, why they use the term Yored and not Oleh, why they're called those who go down to the Merkava, is that we have a term that appears in Psalms 107:23, Yordei Hayam Ba'oniyot, those who go down to the sea. So, Yordei Merkava were people, those who went down to the throne, were people who practiced meditation, and at a very deep level, and they had to be guided through it was really the mystical experience that people who meditate sometimes have, and it's a dangerous process. Even today, people who practice transcendental meditation, or Aryeh Kaplan in his books about meditation and Kabbalah, the Bible says you have to have a guide. You have to have someone who guides you, and you have to have someone who pulls you back, snaps you out of it, because our brain is a very complicated machine, and we have to be careful when we use it. So, to be at that place, you feel like you're in a ship in the middle of the ocean. It's scary. You're like Yordei Hayam Ba'oniyot. You're sailing into the unknown. So that's my interpretation. That's why I think it's called Yordei Merkava. And Yordei Merkava and the Hechalot literature, Hechalot means palaces, has several elements. One element is that of incantation, just repeating the same verse in order to put someone in a trance. Others serve as mantras that are used both for meditation to put you in a state of mind, and also to pull yourself back when you feel that certain areas in the brain, I would say, maybe are dimmed or cannot be reconstructed. You use the mantra to pull yourself back. So here we have this. It speaks. It's sort of a praise to Hashem, and it is the sort of that keeps augmenting until it reaches a crescendo. So I'll read the Hebrew. Mi kemalkenu, the mi keloenu, right? That's this. So it's expanded here. Mi kemalkenu bechol geut tofsei malchut, mi keyotzrenu, mi kashem elokenu, מי כמוהו בקושרי כישרי כתרים, כי בשישה קולות משוררים לפניו מידות נושאי כיסא כבודו, קרובים והאופנים וחיות הקודש, בקול שמעולה מחברו ומשונה מלפניו. קול הראשון, קול השומע אותו, מיד משתגע ומשתתח. That's up to here. Then they continue that the first sound that comes from the throne, anyone who hears it becomes insane and loses his mind. And the next one, and the next one, and the next one. But you see the dynamics of this piece, and this is at least one of the more readable pieces. Some of the texts are long names and letters that or names of angels that people had to recite. So you look at the English, who is like our King in the glory of all who hold kingdom, who is like our Creator, who is like our God, who is like Him among those who tie the ties of crowns, for with 6 voices He is praised by the carriers of His throne, the cherubs, the wheels, and the holy beasts. Each voice is greater and different than the previous. The first voice, whomever hears it becomes insane and falls down, and so on. So this is, we would say it's an esoteric literature, not widely used, but not taught to many. But once it was written in later generations, even those who did not practice this, because this is a kind of experience that people who went through ecstasy or the mystical experience will be able to write. Later on, it became just literature to study and analyze. And then we have this interesting phrase. Rabbi Ishmael said, all these poems were heard by Rabbi Akiva when he descended to the throne, and he grabbed and learned them from where the servants were praising him before the throne. So it's interesting to me on 2 accounts. One is that it's Rabbi Ishmael who speaks about Rabbi Akiva. I told you there were opponents. It's hard for me to imagine how Rabbi Ishmael would tell this story about Rabbi Akiva. The second is that we have an element that appears in other places in Midrash of a human being who grabs something from above and brings it down. The original, I think, Midrashic interpretation was about the Torah being snatched from the angels. The angels refused to give it to Moshe, and Moshe manages to take it away. The other one is about the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto L'Olam Va'ed. There's a Midrash that says also that this was taken from the angels without their knowledge, and here it's Rabbi Akiva who takes it and teaches these kinds of singing. So he opened the first cantorial school, I guess.
Was those Midrashim at all Greek influenced, or is there any time of those?
They could have had Greek influence. Yes, some of the names of the angels definitely don't come from. One name that people don't like to mention, in the Orthodox communities, it appears in the Sidurim. It's Metatron. Metatron is like the chief of staff.
For
It's
God.
supposed to be the voice of God.
Is the voice of God.
The angel.
But you hear the Greek, right? Meta is we still use. So Metatron is like the major servant, the over.
What wasn't that, the Enoch? transformed into?
Hanoch was transformed to Enoch, right? But that's just.
Or Metatron was.
Oh, they said the Metatron was Hanoch, right? Yes. Okay, so with this we concluded. I'm glad we were able to cover all the text that were presented here. Yes.
What is, I mean, we're still writing Midrash.
Yes.
So are there compilations, I mean, what is our generation's Midrash?
Right.
book?
Our generation Midrash, I think, is so many books are written about the Bible. Yes, and the sermons that we're giving. We keep interpreting, and that's the beauty of the Torah, that the text is relevant in our generation. But in terms of the official definition, I think they drew the line somewhere in the 13th century,
Okay.
but no one admits that it was from the 13th century. They say that were written way before that. So we attribute the term Midrash to works written up until the 13th century, but they claim that they were written up to the 4th or 5th century. Make them earlier.